You might have read the description of this presentation, the top 20 robots in FRC history. This is not absolute. This is my opinion, okay? This is my subjective opinion. It's up for debate. Rob's going to have his opinions. So there's a lot of different opinions, but these are my favorites. So who am I and why is my opinion valid? Well, I've been around for a few years. I actually started when I graduated with an ME degree from University of Evansville. I sat down in my first job, and the guy next to me was designing the 1992 robot that for the team that I eventually became part of. So I've seen first since its first day. That was actually helped build the field of corn that we practiced on and all that stuff. So I've been around. I should have an old gray beard or something. But also I was a field coach on 45 for I think 13 years. I coached a few matches. So yeah, I've been a head ref, an LRI for many years, but I started Andy Mark with Mark Coors back in 2004, and I don't do those roles anymore. But I'm a fan and I guess a person who can talk about the old days in FIRST, especially FRC, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about new robots, which robot's the best this year, last year. You guys can talk about that as best as I can, but I'm going to give you my highlights of robots that were impactful. Maybe they didn't win that year, but they changed the design culture and the competitive nature of FIRST. Why did they change it? What happened? Like, we'll talk about the first swerve and steer module. We'll talk about certain years that they first messed up the game, and some teams found some loopholes, and they shut the game down with some of their strategies. So we'll talk about those things. There's also, in here, there's a lot of YouTube links. I have a YouTube channel that's my own. It's Andy Baker 45. I think FIRST has used some of these old videos that the Technocats, the team I was on previously, have a history project. If you really get into the history of this, like I was poking around the Technocats history project website, and I saw an email on there from Joe Johnson on how Chief Delphi started, in 1997, and how the mentors on my team, he scooped us because we were thinking about the same thing, but 47 started it and 45 didn't. But anyway, another story. So yeah, I want to point out the best robots built in FRC over the years. And I'm going to consciously choose not to talk about all the robots that 1114 have built or all the robots that 71 has built. I'm going to pick one of each one of those teams, and that's it. I'm not going to double dip with certain teams. And I gave this last presentation to Indiana, so I talked about my friends in Indiana, my favorite robots of all time in there, but you guys don't care as much, so we'll move on from there. Okay, so my top 20 countdown, we'll start with 20. This was the World Championship team in 2006, Raider Robotics, Team 25. It was kind of weird. They fed these poof balls from the human player, and they really were one of the teams that specialized in and solidified six-wheel drive. Back in those days, teams weren't all doing a six-wheel rocker-type drive, tank treads and such, or tank-style steering and such. They actually cut special grooves in all of their wheels, and all of the wheels are on the same plane. So when they turned, the grooves let them skid their robot. Yeah, there's some seats down front. Yeah, thanks, Mary. That's my lovely wife over there. So give her a hand, please. Yeah, come on down front. Thank you. Come on down front. There's plenty of seats over here. I don't bite. It's okay. No one's gonna point and stare at you. Not too much. He might, but I don't know. There's some more spots over here. Any more back out there? I don't think there's any fire marshals around, or I think we're okay. All right. That 2006 game, who was around for 2006? Anybody? Yep. The game, if you won auto mode, it's kind of game over. It was a tough game. If you did not win auto mode, you had a big hill to get over. So their special sauce that year was they were really good shooting in auto mode, and they shot a lot of balls. They actually shot those poof balls a lot like what you see the fuel being shot this year, except it was a straight line drive shot. kind of like last year with Stronghold, but it was unlimited balls. So it was take Stronghold versus Steamworks and put them together, where multiple ball shooting, but straight line shots, and you got this team's excellent shooter. My favorite Cheesy Poof robot, there's a lot of wonderful Cheesy Poof robots. My favorite one, at least up until this year, last year, was 2011, where we played Logo Motion. They had, I don't know how they do it. They make these wonderful mechanisms and linear systems. In this case, is a linear lift system, and they hide all of the wires and the springs and whatever inside these tubes, and they do it very elegantly, very elegant way of designing. So they had an excellent multi-stage telescoping lift system. If you want to do a lift system, let's say next year they come out with a lift system, I would probably go to this team and this robot first to check out how they did it. They had one of the best mini-bot design and deployment. I think that year there was a mini-bot that climbed to the tower, and the first one to the top of the tower got a crap ton of points, just lots of points. And by the end of the year, a lot of teams were using the same like pink style or 190 style mini-bot that went up to the top. They had a very good highlight video, so let's look at that. Also, they've had some other wonderful robots. We're gonna play some of these videos, and I'm gonna cut them off because we don't have time to watch every single video all the way through. And I don't have audio, so let's do this. Really? Sorry, okay. I should listen to you guys. I'm going to do more of these videos, so I'm going to try to see what it takes to get this, because I'm seeing it, but you're not. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So this year's game, they had a long telescoping lift. You had to grab these tubes, and you got points for placing the tubes on the rack. You got a lot of points if you place the tubes in a manner that showed the logo. So Logo Motion was the name of the game. They had a really efficient tube grabber. They had a roller claw grabber that not only rolled the tube in, but it also opened and closed, and just a really nice, efficient system. Students would throw the tubes in across the field, and the robots would grab them and place them on that rack. Let's get back to here. Crap. Yeah, I need like another hand here. Yes? Another one of my favorite robots, this doesn't say it up top, but this is the Bionic Bulldogs in 2002, Team 60. This year, in 2002, and you're going to see another video from another robot that was wonderful this year, if I can do this video thing. But there were 180-pound goals. There were 3 of them on the field. So 380-pound. These are heavy wooden and steel goals. The name of the game that year was goal control. If you got a goal into a certain zone, you got all the points from the goal and also all the points that were in the goal. We put soccer balls into the goal. So this team would go, this is a 120-pound robot. They would go grab both the goals, and if you look at this picture, this is before anybody else. This is 2002. Before anybody else was powder coating, they had no one had wedge top treads on their wheels. They started it, Team 60. And shortly after, they would make this a 3-wheel robot after they kind of learned from, I think, 25 of them were one of the first ones to do 3-wheel robot. And these guys working with 254, they allied with 254 a couple years later, and those guys really started West Coast Drive and this group here. So Team 60 is still around. They still have a wonderful machine shop as a mentor. But these big claws grabbed two 180-pound goals, lifted them up in the air, off the ground, and took control of them. When you have all that downforce on your robot, you needed a shifting gearbox to crawl across the field. So the team I was on, we had a dog shifting gearbox. This is 2002. These guys had a plate gearbox because there was no VersaPlanet. There was no ball shifters. There was no West Coast Products gearbox. There was no AndyMark gearbox. You had to make your own shifting gearbox in the snow, uphill both ways to get to school that year. So they had to have a shifting gearbox once they get all this downforce to crawl across the field. And they showed a video. I couldn't find it, but they showed a video where their turret had both of these 180-pound goals loaded, and they started spinning them around like a helicopter. It was pretty cool. Nobody knew what Mecanum wheels were in first until Team 357 brought them to first in 2005. And there is a book, the first design book in 2005, 2006 that talks about their process. I think they had one of the mentors working on that team that worked at Airtrax, the forklift company that made the Mecanum wheels. And then we talked to them at AndyMark, and we started thinking, well, there's a market for Mecanum wheels maybe in first. So we came out with a Mecanum wheel, I think in 2007. And if you don't, let's see if I can do this right. If I right-click, hey, I can learn. So if you haven't seen this video, this is the company. I don't think they're in business anymore because these forklifts cost like $35,000, and if you buy a forklift, it's like usually $15,000 or $20,000. But this is, if you've seen the Star Trek movies, it's in these movies. But anyway, I think mentors working on that team I know that they started Mecanum wheels, like nobody knew what these were. So kudos to 357. By the way, I don't think it won much that year. So this isn't necessarily the winning strategy, the winning wheel, but by golly, we've all benefited from this technology. So the Beach Bots in 2005, I was on a team in 2005, that's my team. This is their team. They were the world champions that year. They were allied with 67 and 503. Their robot so you were picking up these tetras, and you placed them on a big goal, and when you scored your red tetra on the goal, you got points, but you got a lot of points if you played tic-tac-toe and the top tetra owned the color of the goal. So let's show a video, and I'll show you I'll talk about the lessons learned from that year with regard to robot design. This is the first year of 3-on-3. This is 67's robot. Right here is 33's robot. And what I want to point out is the simplicity of their design and effectiveness through simplicity. All they had was a single joint arm. Right there was a shoulder joint. They just come along, they quickly pick up a tetra, they quickly place it. It wasn't super complex, wasn't super overly designed. It was just simple. So I also want to show you this game. The vision targets were the green targets on the tetras. No one did those in auto mode. No one got it very well in auto mode. But toward the end of the match, I'm going to fast forward, and you can see some of these stacks get pretty tall. And each one of these things weighed about, I think, 10 or 15 pounds. Do you remember? Maybe 15 pounds or so. So the whole stack, some teams would stack a bunch on the robot and place it. But I want to get out of here and talk about lesson in complexity being beat by simplicity. The previous year, we had a robot that had a turret, it had a lift, it had a shoulder, and a gripper in 2004, and we almost went to Einstein. We were one of the teams to beat, had a really nice robot. So we thought, well, let's do that again. This is a lifting robot. So this is a 5-degree of freedom arm, a lift, a turret, a hinge, an extension, and a grip. So our poor robot operator had to do 5 different things to place a tetra on the goal. These guys had one thing, just an arm that did this, place a tetra. Simple. This is my lesson of keep it simple, stupid. We got walloped by these guys in the semifinal match. Our operator was so overwhelmed that he had a hard time controlling that robot. So don't get complex if you don't have to. My favorite robot that when I was on Team 45 was TKO. It was the year after we won World Championship. It was the first year we had a shifting transmission within a Bosch gearbox. We had metal track drives that were eventually deemed illegal about 2 or 3 years later because teams were tearing up the carpet. We would make these metal track drives and push people around. So we were a bully on the field, which we got awards for early on. So we're like, oh, okay, we'll play this way. So, but we broke our robot a lot, and we only lost a match that we broke something. So this video. You got points for being on the puck, and you got points for putting the puck in different parts of the field. And what I want to show you here is how ridiculously brutal this game was back then. So we got shoved over. We push ourselves back up. That's me in the hat. So this is, we're against, I think, team 131 and 157. And the mentors on 157 gave me a lot of crap after this match because we were pretty brutal. And that's legal. They would jail you for that these days. But there was no penalty. You couldn't go underneath them and pick them up, but you could push them and knock them over. So that was 99. So I've done this for a couple of years. Okay, so these guys did a move at an off-season event in 2004 that everybody just loved. They had 190 always comes up with innovative ways to build robots. They dominated the top bar. You get a lot of points. This was a 10-foot tall bar. You put purple balls in here that year, and if you put a big ball on top, you doubled all your points in the purple balls. And that's back when First had a lot of game element scoring strategies that doubled your points or tripled your points if you did one thing. So that one thing is obviously very important. They had a CVT drive train. They had a telescoping arm. So there was a lot of things neat about this robot. However, this match that happened, I think at Battle Cry, maybe, kind of stole the show for the end of the year. This is auto mode. And you want to keep the teams from getting on the bar. You want to keep them out of the opportunity to get on the bar. So there's going to be another team that comes up here and blocks them. It does a pretty good job. However, not quite good enough. So I think we're still in auto mode. And, now we're in teleop. Okay. So watch them. They go up and over. And they still hang. Let's see it again. And all of this is legal, folks, back then. And no bumpers. Back when men were women and girls were girls, and we had to build robots with no bumpers. Okay. Uphill both ways in the snow, yeah, okay. Well, I don't have video from this one, but this robot is on display at First. It's a team 146 from the New Hampshire area. It probably set the standard with an immaculately polished robot, very high craftsmanship, and from what I heard, it was perfect in almost every round they scored. But it's one of my favorites because it's on display at Manchester. If you go into first place, you can see this robot from 146. More recent robot, Team 1717, the Penguineers. They were shooting balls back in 2012, and they've got a they got a really efficient floor pickup and an effective balancer. I don't know if you guys seen this video, but they were trying to advertise how well they were doing before World Champs, going into World Champs, and they showed us this video, and the rest of us who are attending World Champs kind of just said, "Oh crap, we're going to have to." What the heck? Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. So the name of the game, that was the year that we're shooting basketballs into 3 different hoops. And so you could only hold, I think, 3 basketballs at a time. So they're showing us how well they could pick up balls, how easily they could shoot them into the hoop without missing. Very simple, very quick. They have a floor pickup. What's it? It's like just a straight up tower feed to their turreted ball shooter. Pretty simple system, but pretty elegant. One of my favorites. Yeah, Andy Baker 45 webpage, YouTube page has a lot of this stuff and more. How many do on time? You got to watch. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, Team 2000. I'm going to show you a match that has 2 of my favorite robots in it. And this team, I don't know if you know Dave and Nancy Kelso, but they run this team. And I saw them in that year. And like I said, I'm on 45. There's like 20 kids on our team. We have 15 mentors down there in Florida. We're doing fine. I run into Dave and Nancy, and it's Dave and Nancy and 20 kids, and that's it. No other mentors. Just a teacher and his wife, 20 kids, period, at World Championships. Oh my gosh, how do you do that? So it was a student-built robot, not because they chose to not have mentors. They just didn't have a lot of mentors. So it was a student-built robot. The key with their team is their simplicity of their design, and they were able to de-score a black ball. So black balls were 5 points, yellow balls were 1 point, and if somebody scored a black ball on their goal, they would come along, steal the black ball, put it in their own goal. And they took out 47's very good robot, and here's the match video. It was 2-on-2 that year. Woody, I think, was the MC. That girl that you just saw now helps run First in Michigan. She ran a 160-team event this past weekend. Her name is Margie. She's on the right. So she runs First in Michigan now with a couple other people. This is Team 312, a team out of Florida, really strong. This is Team 126. That's Tim Baird there in the brown hat. If you know Tim Baird, he's still around. He's over here. This is the first year we had a big field. Here's Chief Delphi here, one of the best engineered and designed robots ever. They're grabbing a black ball and a yellow ball. So very, very professionally built, lots of adult involvement, and they get beat in this match by a simple robot built by students, a very elegant, simple strategy. So here's 131's robot. They've already grabbed a black ball, and they're storing it in the back. They're trying to block their opponent. So there goes the black ball, and 131's just going to grab it right out of there and go. Well, they will. Maybe they were going to get more balls. So here they come. Get that ball out of here. I don't want it. I want that ball. And, oh, crap. So now they've got 2 black balls, and 312 is saying, no, we don't want that to happen. Now they get like in a pile. I don't know what happens here, but they like hanging on each other, and 312 eventually gets up and scores the black ball on the other side in their blue side. There was a hanging bar in the middle here, so you got points for hanging, you got points for being on the ramp. So 312 just hung. So that was a nice feature for that game. And I'm going to come back to this video. I'm going to stop it now because I don't want to spoil a later robot. Okay, so we'll move on to this. 2002, we played with soccer balls. You would pick up soccer balls, you put them in this goal, and these guys, you had a lot, this is a year you had a lot less motor allotment. You can only use a certain amount of, like this year we can use 6 sim motors, right? Well, this past year in 2002, I think you can use either maybe 2 sim motors, and there were a limited amount of each other motor. Like you could only use 2 seat motors or 2 Van Door motors. It was very much, so the power wattage was limited immensely. This team chose to take power pretty much out of their drivetrain, so they couldn't push anybody around, but they threw all of their power into their ball pickup. I'll show you why. Yeah, that was nasty. We had to wire EDM a gear that went with it. Oh, shoot. So for the next 5 or 6 years after this video was shown, everybody in first looked at this video to see how you picked up a ball. Let's see it again. In about 4 or 5 seconds, they pick up all these soccer balls. Soccer balls, these are Series 4, Class 4 soccer balls, whatever. They're not lightweight balls. No one was even close to picking it up like this. They set the standard. So good for them. Really quick video. Oh, geez. I was going to play it again, but let's keep moving. Sorry. Okay, so if you have an extension arm, if you have a game you want to do an extension arm, you look like a tubular extension arm that has chain inside of it that you don't drive, like you drive the bottom chain and all the other chains are dependent on that chain. You don't look any farther than 233, pink team. People would call them the pink team arms, okay? So very meticulously welded or machined, channeled tube arms. In this case, I think it was a single stage. This was the ball we had in 2008. You had to throw a ball over like a ladder. Very wonderfully built robot with a roller claw, and they've used some of those same designs over the years. 2005 was a good year for them, and 2011. This team, Thunder Chickens, in 2002 made a planetary, continuously variable transmission that they were very successful with that year. They actually published the design the year after. Another team the next year built the same design and got technical awards for it. This happens. I get it. So if you understand CVTs, you know that they're infinitely, it's an infinite transmission. So they would actually spin the ring gear with a motor to change the ratio of the whole gearbox. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but they were the first ones to do a planetary version of a CVT. They were kind of popular back at this time. 190 was doing CVTs in different ways. And 2002 was the year we had those 180-pound goals you had to pick up. Some teams did dog shifting gears and plate shifting gears, but they did a CVT. I mean, 118, right? I could pick every single year and cite a 118 robot. And the reason why I'm picking 2017 or 2007 because I was a judge at Bayou Regional that year, and it was such a poor experience for me. I didn't judge again until this year, so it took me 10 years to judge again. But I was sitting in a judge's room, and usually there's judge observers. They watch matches to make sure you guys aren't telling them things that aren't true and during the match, so they have to make sure the robot works. But this team told us judges, I think it had 4 sim motors and at least 4 550 series motors driving a central power, like a power takeoff device that drove all of their wheels at the same time. So one power plant driving all of their wheels on a swerve drive. So they had one chain that drove the power for all the swerve drive wheels, another chain system that spun the wheels, they have to swerve. So this whole thing has so much chain and so much complexity, but it was so wonderfully built, and it was so novel No one saw anything like it before in 2007. So we're in the judges' room, and we're saying, this is wonderful. They got to give some kind of a technical award. I'm saying I've never seen anything like it. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've never seen anything like it. And one of the judges says, well, I don't think they deserve a technical award because one of the matches they didn't work, and I think I heard that they lost a machine key in that match, so they were dead on the field. Okay, so they don't deserve quality. I get it. They did give them something, and that was like banging my head against the wall. So I didn't judge for another 10 years. So anyway, one of my favorite robots from them. Team 67 in 2012. Again, 67, the hot team out of Michigan. They make wonderful robots. And I think in 2012, along with 1717, they had one of the best shooters in FRC, and they were shooting these basketballs into those hoops that you saw that with 1717 earlier. And they had this gorilla-shaped arm that would pick up balls, drop it into their shooter, and shoot. But also, this arm was strong enough to do two other things. It helped them balance on the bridge, which got you massive points at the end of the match. And it helped them. Well, the other thing it really did was it withstood people's defense. So if you're playing against 67, you're gonna hit their arm because it's sitting out there in front of their bumpers. It's picking up balls. You're gonna slam into it, and it withstood all that hitting all year long. Allegedly, they were a victim of sabotage at the Michigan State Championships, and then that happened during the Einstein Field Championships here, well, not here, in St. Louis. So they didn't, there were some mysterious communication issues with their team early on in the Michigan State Championships that was sad, but part of the crap that we sometimes see in First of people sabotaging the fields during that year. And I think First have addressed that very well since then. But that's another discussion. Wonderful robot, very high target for all the other teams to try to beat. Wildstang. Wildstang built robots for 15 years with sheet metal designs that I know the engineer that led this effort, his name is Raul. He now works at VEX down in IFI in Texas. And he would do these hand-sketched sheet metal designs that were wonderful. And he was actually a software engineer, strangely enough. But Wildstang built these robots out of sheet metal that were amazing creations of art, and the kids built them with the adults. In 2003, that was the first year we had auto mode. And when First told us about auto mode at kickoff, we're all thinking, yay, now we can call our robots because they think for themselves, right? But holy moly, that's hard. 6 weeks, right? And until this time, until 2003, everybody really built one robot. And then you would build some mechanisms and you bring them in your weight allotment thing, allowance, but you got your robot done and you just drive it. You wouldn't have auto mode practice because there was no auto mode until 2003. Well, if you know Wildstang, you know that the mentors, they had like 5 software mentors. They all worked for Motorola. And back in early 2000s, that was when GPS was starting to take off. The Magellan, the Garmins, all those things were starting to happen. And Motorola was involved with that. So these guys actually had a Motorola pad that they would program waypoints on their Motorola pad to show a GPS tracking system kind of for hitting these waypoints that would describe how the robot drove around in auto mode. So they would take out the pad, they would graphically take a pin and hit points on the pad, and that would describe their auto mode. And they did this after being surprised with auto mode being released in January, and they were able to do this and show up at these events. That was a year that it was called Stack Attack? And you would stack these totes. The kids would actually run out on the field. They would stack a group of totes, and all the robots would do was knock them down. There was no robot stacking any totes. There were people hacksawing off stackers, kind of like this year. They were taking off their shooters, some of the teams were. Who did that? Yeah, so it took off your stackers. And then, so the students would run off the field. Robots would go try to knock them down. And it was essentially, at the end of the day, it was a King of the Hill match. So I'll show you this match. Notice Woody is still the MC. They're right here. Kids are on the field putting the totes on. They get off the field. They close the gate. And this is all, they drive around and they knock down the totes in auto mode without even knowing that they're there. It says 175. Here they come. Yeah. It's a wonderful machine. So also, if you were trying to push them off, obviously, you would run up on these ramps and they would just tip you over. So you had to get up next to them. It was pretty hard to beat. They ended up winning the World Championships that year. This was their first World Championships. But this is kind of like Recycle Rush in a way, except instead of stacking the totes, you just knocked them down. And the totes were also very, very fragile, so there was a lot of tote destruction. And there wasn't one single place that sold totes. They gave us a spec, first gave us a spec for this Sterilite tote. Everybody in the world of first went out to Walmart and Menards and Lowe's and bought this tote. So the whole market was out of that tote for about a month, and then they would come back in stock. And then the next year, these stores would have all these totes and no one bought them. I'll show the end of the match. I'm sorry. This is Los Gorillas, 469. So that was one of their first years. They did really well. So those two are partners. Oh, also, notice this big honking red light that showed. It was like a police siren light that would show their alliance color. So that was kind of crazy. So if those two are on the top of the hill, they win. And if you knock down totes, I think you got points. You got points if totes were on your side of the field. So if you just controlled which side of the field the totes were on, and you were on top of the ramp, then you would win. It was a pretty simple game. All right, let's move on. How do you pick a best Symbotics Team 1114 robot? I picked their World Championship team, their World Championship robot in 2008, where they hauled this big, huge ball, threw it over the overpass, and then caught it and would drive around the overdrive field and get a lot of points. They had a low CG, low profile robot. They had a really clean pickup and launching ball mechanism. And they had a 2-speed drive system that was really effective. So here's a video from them. I'm glad I figured out this video thing. So you get points. This is auto mode. So they're driving around in auto mode. They're knocking off their red ball so they can pick them up. And you get points by making laps. And you get points by throwing the ball over the overpass. So now it's teleop, starting to drive. I think this is 1114 right here. Watch how easily and effectively they pick up a ball on the fly. Well, right there, not so much. So they got it. They're going to launch it. Done. Now they're going to go pick it up again. They make it look really easy. It wasn't easy. It was a really hard task. Thunder Chickens are right there. They had a pretty nice, effective way, but nobody had a better way to do it than 1114. Frank threw a flag there on when you were shooting, you couldn't get tagged, so they kind of had to lay off. The other team couldn't really bug you when you were shooting, so there was a lot of penalties. One of the reasons why I don't head ref anymore was this game. I was at a regional. This isn't about me. This is about 1114. Sorry. I'll tell you stories later. So very simple, effective. Notice when they shoot, they're going to shoot here again. Their arm is in the up position, and they shoot. They don't have to lower their arm down. They keep it up. on the team I was on, we had an arm that was up, and we would shoot it, and we'd have to lower it down to go underneath the overpass. So that was not very smart. Very simple design from them. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, 2010 was a game where you had soccer balls. You rolled them into the corner to score. You had to shoot them, or you could shoot them from the area of the field right in front of the goals, or you could shoot them from midfield. But when you shot the ball into the goal, the student would grab the ball and put it on a rack, and then on the rack, the ball would kind of slowly come out back onto the field and then drop into, I think it was the middle section of the field. And everybody thought, most teams that brainstormed this game, they thought about the idea, what if we take that ball that drops in and we just automatically feed it back into that goal? And everybody, I talked to a lot of people that year that thought of this idea, and only one team did it, right? Did your team think of this? Oh, okay. And it was amazing. This isn't necessarily the best match, but it does show toward the end of the match how effective they are. People tried to, if you were defending them, you had to have a robot that just stopped them, which means that they're not scoring, right? This team was actually a really good midfield shooter. So if you got into their way where they had to lock themselves into the goal, they would just shoot over you and you would lose. And once they would get in, they would get locked into this area that you'll see. Once they got in there, you couldn't get them out. So they surprisingly lost the finals on Einstein. They were the favorite to win, but in one match, their partner got stuck in the goal. In another match, they just got beat. I'm not sure how. This other team was really good. But this is the Michigan State finals. They're right here. And if they get locked into this position here, then it's pretty much game over. So they're doing this in auto mode. They're picking up balls. And by the way, that year, you couldn't pull a ball into your robot more than 3 inches. You couldn't collect the ball. You had to grab the whole of the edge of it and then kick it. It was really hard. So they're going to lock in right here. They're locked in. Game over. See the ball coming out? They have a basket here, and they have a redirection. So 217 blocked them, fair enough. But 217 is a good score. All they're doing down there is block. They're not scoring any points. So that balance of power is missed. Their entire track system would send it to the right or to the left. Blue's driver is down here. Red's driver is over there, so red has an advantage of where he sees that blue driver driving. Well, yeah, their partner blocked it. They do get better here, but the point is, first did not imagine this happening and this being executed. So they locked up the game, and every match you're with them or against them, you knew what was going to happen, and you had to figure out how to stop it. And it was pretty hard. So there's one. Yeah, so, and the more they would score, the more they would come out. Because there was a rule that you couldn't hoard balls back there, so you had to keep putting them out there. So they start just scoring and scoring and scoring, and it's just hard to stop. Yeah, I mean, they 217 blocked some of them, but not very many. So hats off to Las Gorillas 469 for making a robot that pretty much broke the game, right? Okay. Speaking of breaking the game, in Team 71, Team Hammond, who, by the way, is the only team in the world that's won world championships 4 times, and they did it, I think their last win was in 2007. 4 times, 2007. Yeah, they were second in 2007. Right. Okay, so this year, I'm going to pick on them a little bit. I love these guys, but there was a rule in the robot rules that said you can't use Velcro to contact the carpet. No Velcro on the carpet. Well, file cards aren't Velcro, right? We could use file cards. They did it, and they stuck to the carpet, and you couldn't move them. These are file cards and walking beams right here. So a walking beam does this. Like that. Okay? So they would use these wheels, drive out, grab those 180-pound goals, and lock onto them. Once they had all 3 goals, only one team figured out how to beat them all year long, but they were really hard to beat. Let's watch the video. They're actually playing against Team 60. Remember Team 60? The team that picked up the 2 goals and got all their downforce for their shifters to crawl with. Again, Woody's introducing the match. Here's Team 60. I talked about them early on. They grabbed the goals. Here's 71. They just grabbed all 3 goals. If the goals are in this zone at the end of the match, 60 wins. These 3 goals, if they're in this zone at the end of the match, 60 wins. If these goals are in this zone at the end of the match, 71 wins. It's a 2-minute match. They've got 2 minutes to get those goals over there, and they're going to do it. They're walking the goals over there slowly, like very, very slowly. 66 is their partner, and they're helping like push them, like keep them lined up. Even though that wasn't a smart move. But they kind of help them line up to get over there. Another part of the game, if you touched your end zone over here or where you started over there, if you touched that zone at the end of the match, you got extra points. So notice there's this trailing thing from 60, so they were touching the end zone at the end of the match. So there was a lot of entanglement that year. So this could be entanglement. Notice they're about halfway there. They got a half minute or 45 seconds to go, and they're halfway there. Let's fast forward because it's kind of boring. Slowly but surely. Now it's neutral. Actually, they're in the center, and 71 has an advantage. There's those soccer balls that 95 picked up so well that year. There you go. 71 wins. You couldn't beat them. They locked the game up too. I don't know what that was doing there. Okay, so my favorite robot was the team that lost to 131 in that year with the black ball and the yellow ball. And the reason why is nobody built a robot like this until, nobody still builds a robot like this. This tubular design lift, oh, that was my robot. There's a tubular design lift, this huge gripper that could hold 6 of those balls, all welded aluminum with a really nice hinge on it. This was the first year they said you could have bumpers on your robot. They said that the bumpers had to be a certain weight and under a certain size, and get this, they had to be energy absorbing, period. They made aluminum bumpers. Of course, they're energy absorbing. They're not foam, they're not pool noodles, but they're energy absorbing. An anvil is energy absorbing. Come on. So let me talk about, and this is also the second year, I think the second or third year they had swerve driver on the robot. There's Margie again. So it's the same video, but I want to talk about this other robot. Okay, so right here, they're going to go pick up 2 balls. This is 2000. There wasn't a 221 swerve module. There wasn't an Andy Mark swerve and steer. There wasn't a wild swerve. They made their own swerve modules before anybody. Watch them pick up these 2 balls. And then watch them go to the right, swerve over, pick up 2 more balls. We all saw that. We're like, holy crap, how do we beat that? It's amazing. It's very good design. Watch this lift, this tubular double Van Door motor-driven lift, no 775s, no sim motors, Van Door motor lift, and they're dropping those balls in that goal. 131 beats them in the match, but still, my favorite robot. And if you talk to most people who are around during this day, it's one of their favorite robots too. You've seen this part. He's a sad boy. He's not happy. But at the end, now, I didn't show you this part. One of their welds breaks on their gripper right about here. Watch their shoulder joint, or their basket just fell off. And, okay, it's my favorite robot, but it broke. Why is that good? Well, because it was inspirational. This program is about inspiration. I was inspired by this robot. I'm a designer. I hope it inspired a lot of students and teams over the years, but that's my favorite robot. So I think that's about all I have. Let me see if I've got anything else. No. So, any questions on any of this stuff? What time is it? Thank you. I got about 5 minutes. Any questions on any of this stuff? Yes, in the back, yellow shirt. Well, it won, right? Robotics Recycle. The thing that impressed me about their robot is there was a match. I think some of the matches on Einstein where they grabbed a big recycle can. They couldn't let go, and the driver was driving around with this can that they couldn't let go of, and they still won the match. How do you do that? So I actually inspected that robot, and I was very impressed by that was actually one of the few robots I inspected that year, long story. But it's an immaculately built robot, a lot of pieces to it. The kids know the robot. They work well with the mentors and that team. I think they're one of the teams that gets beat up too much for having mentor-built robots. Bull. Kids and students build that robot. So with that robot, I think it was big and bulky, and I really liked the grabbers, the can grabbers, right? And I was mostly impressed by their robot winning a match, even though they couldn't let go one of the cans that one match, or 2 matches, I think. Another question. Yes? In my opinion, what makes a robot good? I think by what you can see, my favorite one, I want it to be inspirational. I want to see something on that robot I've never seen before. 2007 gear train from 118. I want to see Mecanum wheels from 357. This team here at the World Championships, 47. Those teams actually didn't win World Championships that year, but I'm inspired by them as a designer. Yes? My favorite game, outside of the last 2 years, I think it was 2000. That with the black ball and the yellow ball and the hanging, it was pretty simple. And I think that Vex ran a game a couple years ago that was very similar to that. And the guys that are on GDC for Vex know that that's a good game too. So I think 2000 was a very good game. I've kind of bent Frank's ear over the years, said just redo 2000. We'd love it. It was a great game. It'd be played a lot differently because you have a lot more power, a lot more mechanisms on the robot. I have a lot of favorites though, but that's my favorite. Yeah. Yes, at the back. How do I feel about Team 148's 2015 robot? When I saw, was it Batman and Robin, right? When I saw them do that, I was blown away because I didn't think of that. There wasn't a rule. There's always been a rule that you can only have one robot out there, right? Not two robots. And then they did that, and I just totally missed that feature of that year's game and the tether between them and all that. So yeah, they were kind of upset in the finals by 118 and Citrus Circuits for winning. It was amazing to see. So I love that robot. I should have a 148 robot on this list too. Yes? Bomb Squad's 2016 robot. Gosh, I'm coming. I didn't watch it run very much. That's one of the ones I didn't see very much. Was it three-wheel swerve? Is that right? Okay. Oh, that's right. I remember JT Novak talking about it. So they dropped their tank treads down to go over. There's a couple teams that did that. So that was crazy. And, okay, now I'm remembering, this is just last year. My memory is better with older games, I guess. But, so they had a swerve drive, four-wheel swerve drive, and they had tank treads that they would drop the tank treads to go over the defenses. So that was pretty awesome because it was a novel, unique drive system that would be, in my opinion, inspirational. More questions? Yes? What do I feel is the biggest mistake teams make in the design process? We did it this year, the team I'm on. We didn't give software enough time to do their job. Seriously. Get your stuff done. Mechanical guys, gals, get your stuff done. Don't give it to software on the last day. Whatever you're building. And you're welcome, software teams. I got it. And that goes hand in hand with my other advice. The mechanical folks gotta break stuff early. So we did one thing so hit your timelines, and also on your teams, I challenge you guys to make a big deal in a positive manner when something breaks. Celebrate your breakages. We actually gave out candy bars when kids broke the robot during the build season. Not here. Too late. This impacts your matches. If you break things early on and hit your deadlines, break things early on, celebrate. We actually kept a list on our wall. We had 3 major breaks this year. 3 times I handed out candy bars. And then the kids at our first district event, they said, hey, Andy, we broke something here. Do we get a candy bar? No. Break it during the build season, not now. Anyway, yeah, meet your deadlines. More? One more question? One more question. What's the most memorable robot or robot function I've seen this year? Gosh, I have some emotional times, and I have some technical times this year that I really liked. Okay, I'll give you one. This is my dark horse pick for this weekend. I'll pick 5499, Bay Orangutans from San Jose. Best driver and first I've seen this year. The kid drives at the wheel. He has a throttle and a reverse. That's how he drives. I don't know why. We asked him, actually, in Idaho. I said, why do you drive like that? I drive cars. And the thing about it I liked was it was a very effective, lightweight gear cycler that would just grab gears, bring them down, drop them off. For another guy, they weren't ejecting them, I don't think, but they were dropping them off for another group to place the gear. I was inspired by a lot of shooters. I'm on a team that we got 37 KPA, we didn't get 40. We were pretty close because we didn't give software enough time to do their job. Anyway, but I think I'm going to pick, I really like the team, that team that took an interesting, dramatic situation during their build season. I know some of that, and they actually started building their robot in week 3, and they won Idaho Regional with Team Tater. Watch out for them, 5499. They're here. That's all I've got. Thank you, guys.